you guys how to trim a tri-tip. Basically, I just took this one. You can show that one though. I got Lil helping me, so thank you, Lil. Basically, this is a bacon butter that I made the other day. These tri-tips, when you take them off, they're gonna rest for about 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So basically, what I do is put some bacon butter on them, wrap it up. And you're gonna set it, let me set it there for now. Okay, basically on this tri-tip, can you get a good shot of that though? You see the grain running here? And then if you look closely, the grain will be running this way. See the grain here? The grain goes like this, and then here it changes direction and starts going this way. If you see those little, the little strains in there? So what you want to do when you trim this, to properly trim this, you want to find out where that grain changes. See, it's running this way. You wouldn't start here and just go all the way through, because when you get here, you're cutting the same way. Basically, you cut against the grain, and it causes it, makes it more tender, makes it less tough. So right about here is where the grain changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that in half, right there. See that? And then we'll set this aside. Okay, so if you notice here, now your grain's running this way. So basically, you're going to want to cut on a biased, and I like to go as thin as I can. See that? So you want to cut against that grain at all times. Cut it as thin as you can, as thin as you want. See that? Basically, just take your time, kind of cut on a little bit of an angle, and you're going to cut that. I didn't inject this one, I just put a rub on it. But basically, you always want to cut against the grain. And the problem that people have with tri-tips is the grain runs two separate ways. So they see the grain in one spot, and they think it runs that way through the whole thing. Okay, so if you see on this one now, let's turn it this way. Basically, your grain is running this way. So you want to start at this point. Give it a slice here. I let this rest for about 30 minutes. Look at the juice coming out as I cut it. And you can tell, see how that piece looks? You can tell you're doing it right when you see those lines in there like that. I didn't put a whole lot of smoke. I used a little bit of hickory on this and some apple. Just wanted to give some smoke flavor to it. So basically, this thing was like this. So you want to find those two, no, that's not how it was. But basically you get the idea. You always want to cut against the grain. So find it, sometimes it helps if you look at the piece of meat before you put it on the smoker, because as it gets that crust on it, it's hard to tell where the grain is. Some people will take a little piece and cut a chunk off so they can remember where that grain runs. So, or a lot of people will put toothpicks in it. Put toothpicks the same way that the grain is running. So when you're done, you just pull that toothpick out. You know which direction it's going. And it's that simple. I pull my tri-tips about 136, 140, and then I rest them with some, this is bacon butter, though, so that, this is a bacon butter that I made. I posted the recipe on the page, it's real easy. But a little slice of that on the meat is outstanding. So, but that's the main thing with tri-tip, is find that part where it quits, where the grains change direction, and then cut it in half right there. This is going to be a really juicy tri-tip. So, and it's that simple. To me, tri-tip is best the next day. I'd much rather eat a tri-tip the next day than the first day, but you see in the grain, see how it's running this way. So this was your point, your tip. So basically, you can find that intersecting part, cut it in half, and then start on this, go all the way through this way, get this piece, and go all the way through that way. So That's the part people have trouble with, remembering and understanding the grains from the way they run. So, it's that simple. Thank you guys.